For making the face of our doll, we're going to use the same supplies as we have for the construction of the body. Okay, so now it's time to stitch our face. So you're going to load the face file of your choice, and you are going to load a new piece of stabilizer, and we're going to start stitching the die line for the first step. Okay, so we have stitched the die line for our face of choosing, and you need to understand that for this fabric, all the fabric for the face, the stretch is going to go from side to side like all of our other dolls. That's just for the face fabric. Remember, the back side of our doll's head, the stretch went from top to bottom. For the face, the stretch is going to go from ear to ear, and the reason why is because, again, those two stretches kind of cancel each other out. So just keep that in mind. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of lining fabric and lay it down. And then this is a piece of face fabric, and I'll show you my stretches going from side to side. Definitely want to double check that. It does stretch a little this way, but it definitely stretches more this way. Okay, so just make sure our die line is covered all the way around. And then we're just going to tape this in place, and then we'll be ready to stitch or tack down to secure this fabric. I do want to add one more note here, and that is, since we are doing some heavier embroidery, I'm actually going to cut a piece of scrap stabilizer like this, and I'm going to tape it to the back side of the hoop so that it will help reinforce the stitches. And then I am also going to be using water soluble stabilizer on the top side of the hoop. And normally we would only use this if we were using minky or some kind of fur fabric, but I've seen other ladies do it in some videos, and maybe it'll have a better result because we are doing a lot of embroidery work. So we'll do that in a moment, but I just wanted to put that extra piece of stabilizer down on the reverse side so that you can see that, you know, if you are having trouble stitching out your face, you maybe need to put some extra stabilizer on the back. Alright, and now we're just going to stitch a tack down line to secure this fabric to the hoop and to give us some center notches for the placement of our head. Alright, now that we're at the part where we are about to start embroidering the face, this is what water soluble stabilizer looks like, and I'm just going to take a piece to put over my face here, and that way I've done everything I can to make sure I have a clean stitch out with plenty of support. And I'm just going to tape this here because it does have a tendency to float away or get folded in on itself. All face files have the same options. You'll start by always stitching the whites of the eyes. Then you'll stitch the iris color. And then you have a choice after the iris color as to if you want to stitch out the eyelashes or if you would like to forego and try to give your doll real lashes, in which case do not stitch out the eyelash part of the face file. And then you'll stitch the pupils of the eyes and some black lines that go around the eyes
followed by the highlights on the eyes, then the eyebrows, and then you'll have two different sets of lip files. The first one is long stitches. Your machine may struggle, and if so, stitch the second set of lip lines. Then you'll stitch the line that goes through the lips, the nose, then the nostrils, and then you have the option to stitch freckles. If you don't want freckles, you would skip this. And then you have three different sets of eyeglasses. If your doll doesn't want glasses, then don't stitch any of those, or pick just one. And then finally, the final tack down for the face.
So the next color in my stitch out is the eyelashes, and if you want your doll to have eyelashes, then you need to stitch that color out. It is separated from the pupils of the eyes and some of the other details. I'm going to try something different for my doll, and I'm actually going to try hand stitching some actual fake lashes onto my doll and see how that looks. So for me, I'm going to skip the eyelashes just to give my doll something special that's extra. I've never done it before, so I hope it goes okay. If not, I'll be restitching this face with the eyelashes. So I'm going to skip that color, and I'm just going to go on to doing the pupils and the eyeliner and some of the lines on the eyes. Okay, so I finished up the face, and I did see a problem I had with my test file. So I'm going to fix that in the final file, but I'll mention it here. So the blue on her eyes was a little too high, and I went back and looked at my file, and sure enough, I didn't have it embroidered correctly in the digitizing software. So I'll just fix that with, when I put her eyelashes on, maybe I'll use some Sharpie marker to touch that up. That's a little trick we use. Also, I had to stitch the blacks of her eyes 2 times, so I'll probably go back and add double black to the eyes. And the machine had a really hard time stitching the bottom lip, and I don't know why, but I had to slow my machine down, and I just had to keep pressing continue, because the thread didn't break, the bobbin didn't break, and I just had to keep pressing continue, and it stitched it. So I don't know if I will provide like this field kind of stitch where it goes back and forth, or if I'll let it, you know, do the long stitches. I haven't decided yet, so you'll see when you get your file. It'll look the same either way. So now it's time to put our back onto our face. So I'm gonna get that now, and what you want to do is you want to make sure that the curved part down here is at the bottom of the head. So you don't want to have it oriented like this, putting it onto your doll. You want to have it oriented like this, with the curved part at the bottom half of the face. And what you're going to do is, there's a little straight line here, and you got your straight lines down here, and you're going to line it up to these notches on the face, here to here and here to here. And when you tape this panel down, because you're going to tape it over the face, you need to make sure that the ears are not sticking out like this. So you need to make sure those are tucked in, and this should be fine. So just make sure that each side is tucked in, and just make sure that everything is centered. That way your ears will be straight. So you're going to tape it down just like this. So I like to start at the top of the head, and I like to make sure that this is lined up first. So right where the curve begins, I want that to fall right on that notch. Okay, I'm just going to tape that down. Then I'm going to move to the bottom down here, and I'm just going to line that line up just like that, and tape it down. That way it's not going to move. And now we can make sure those ears, that they're safe. So I'm just going to let that rest naturally. And you want to have this trimmed very close, because if you don't, the machine's going to go very close over here and it could catch this, and we don't want that to happen. So just trim like 1/8 of an inch. Since we have this liner fabric in here, it should help to stabilize that. And then you just want to tape that down. The machine's going to go over this hump right here, so I'm going to tape that down. And it's also going to go over this, so I'm just taping that down. I'm also going to tape this down, because we don't want that to come out the little tab and get sewn in anywhere. And I can tell that my ear is safe, so I'm going to go ahead and tape this side down too. So taping it here, here, here. I'm going to tape it right there. I'm going to tape it here. Alright, so as you can see, the seams are pointed out, ears are in, it's trimmed very closely. If it's not, go ahead and take a moment to trim it. Make sure that this little hook shape is located at the where the lips would be. This shape is to give the doll joint a place to sit. So let me see if I can find a doll joint here. This one is obviously too large, but it'll give you an idea. The doll joint is going to sit on that shelf, and the post is going to come out. There's a little opening right here, a little gap in the stitching that the post will go through, and this will attach to the neck. If I had just put a circle on the back of the head, what would happen is the head would be looking up at the sky, because the neck is pointed straight up. So that's why I had to experiment so much with the shape of this head, was because I had to figure out what to do to get the head attached to the neck. So what I came up with was this shape here, and there's a little hole down here, a gap in your stitching, and that's where the post for your doll joint will go through. And then, you know, you'll have your washer and your locking disc that will, and it'll be supported here. And we're gonna stuff this head extremely firmly, so it should hold that doll joint, and the head should sit up perfectly and be well supported. So that's why you have that shape there. So now that everything is taped, we're going to do the final tack down. Okay, so we have finished and made it through the creation of the head, which was the last part of the doll body. And I still have to do the wig tutorial, but now you know how to do the head. And I'm just going to remove this tape, and then we're going to cut our head out and turn it right side out and take a look and see how everything turned out. Okay, so here's what the front looks like. Let's remove some of this tape and stabilizer. Okay, so now we are ready to cut this out. I'm going to keep that tucked under. I'm going to grab my scissors. And we're just going to cut all the way around. And probably best just take this and tuck it into itself so that it doesn't get snipped by the scissors. You don't want to cut that. And then we're just going to go around and trim. So now the face looks like this, and the back looks like this. So here's our little 3D pocket we created, and here's our face, and we're ready to turn it right side out. So I'm just going to take and grab inside. Just make note where where this hole is. There's a gap in the stitching, and that's where your doll joint will go. So just remember that that's there. And then we're just going to turn this right side out. Okay, so here's your opening where you're going to stuff your head. And the doll joint is also going to go right in here and sit on this little shelf right here. Okay, and this rounded shape provides the fullness that we need. And then here is an ear that's attached to the back side of the head, both sides like this. Okay, and then the front looks like this. But when we stuff it, you're not going to see these lines here. And she will have hair. So now we just need to stuff our doll.